just a little bit, I want to bring in a good friend of this ministry and a good friend of this program, Matt Barber. Matt is the Associate Dean and Adjunct Professor, Assistant Professor of Law at Liberty University and the School of Law. Matt, welcome back to Focal Point with Brian Fisher.
Hey, Brian, always good to be on with you, friend.
Well, you and I, Matt, have experiences in common. Both of us have activists just kind of teeing off on us and going after us. And what I'm discovering, Matt, and I'd like you to comment on this, one of their favorite tactics on part of homosexual activists is to accuse us, those of us that are raising questions and criticisms about normalizing homosexual behavior, to accuse us without any shred of proof or evidence of being closet homosexuals ourselves.
Yeah, that's their tactic. It's very instructive, isn't it? And first, let me comment on Alan Combs. I've done his show a number of times, and Alan, like the yellow-bellied weasel, is a clever little feller, but his bark is much worse than his bite. It's very clear what he was trying to do, exactly what he set you up to accomplish, trying to paint you into a corner to discuss your own personal, private life, and he does that to distract and hide the ball and distract, because he doesn't want to discuss the issues at hand on the merits and argue the merits of the case. So it was very clever, and of course, Right Wing Watch, a project of People for the American Way, and a bunch of these other radical leftists have taken the ball and run with it. But for Brian, as you know, the vast majority of people with natural sexual impulses, can't even conceptualize having a demonstrably unnatural impulse to engage in some kind of sexual behavior with a person of the same sex. It's incomprehensible, and to most people, it's repulsive. But to the left, this is Saul Alinsky 1001. They accuse you of what you are fighting against, what you're standing up against. So the Judeo-Christian sexual ethic is very clear that homosexual behavior, like any other sexual sin outside of the bonds of marriage between a man and a woman, which is the only realm within which sexual behavior is moral and permissible in the Judeo-Christian sexual ethic, they are going to accuse you of what you are standing up against. And so it doesn't surprise me, but it's instructive to me that the worst thing that they can come up with, the worst insult that they can lodge against you, is to say that you're a closet homosexual, which is what you're standing up against. I guess that, because we're pro-life too, Brian, I guess that we furtively, secretly long that every unborn child in the world should be slaughtered in the womb. I mean, using their logic, that's, I guess, where we are.
Well, it's interesting. I went through a column on this program earlier this week by Melanie Phillips. It was on the Daily Mail Online over in the UK. She grew up as a hardcore liberal and began to shift her point of view in the 80s. And her eyes began to be open to the whole issue of values, particularly the destruction of the sexual revolution of the institution of the family. She saw particularly with the absence of fathers in the home, the damage it did to children. And one of the things that took her off guard is the way in which she was demonized and attacked by the left. And this is what I want you to comment on, and because I think this is what we're seeing here in this little exchange with Alan and what they've done with it. The point that she made is the left is driven by irrationality. They don't have facts on their side. They don't have reason on their side. So what happens, they have this mindless, irrational fury, and instead of debating, instead of dialoguing about the issues and the evidence for and the evidence against, they just insult and accuse, and they do so with such angry and fury that debate is impossible.
Yes, such is the quandary that is created when you live and operate from a worldview that embraces relativism. We Christians happen to live in a world that embraces reality, objective truth. So when you have an ends justifies the means kind of mentality, and truth no longer matters. In fact, truth is a hurdle that you must get over or somehow get around. around to reach your ultimate goal of some kind of pseudo-utopian, relativist world that cannot exist. When that is your goal, truth is a threat. So what else do you have? You have lies. You can only spin, and liberalism relies on, the progressive movement relies on deception. They have to deceive, because when you address the truth straight on, that's why it's so easy to be a Christian. That's why it's so easy to be a conservative, because all we have to do is say what we believe and say what happens to be true. We don't have to keep up with lies and come up with all these slick little tactics like Alan Combs has done to try to malign and marginalize those who are fighting against truth. We just simply tell the truth. They can't tell the truth because their entire worldview is rooted in a lie.
And one of the points that Melanie Phillips made is she was just dealing with this general issue of moral standards. And, the reality is, Matt, you get even below the level of homosexuality, whatever the issue you happen to deal with, we believe that the moral standards of the Judeo-Christian tradition are abiding, that they are enduring, they are true for all people at all times, in all circumstances. Marriage from the very beginning has been the union of one man and one woman. We read that in Genesis 2, the first man and woman that God created. And so that's clearly the divine pattern. It's clearly God's created order. And so we believe that there are certain standards. There are things that are right and other things that are wrong. There are things that are true and other things that are false. And she says that's ultimately what they cannot abide. They what makes them angry and furious is the possibility that there may be some standards that would sit in judgment on their behavioral choices. And so they will fight anybody who says that there are universal and abiding moral standards. And you think about the fact, well, for them, that's a universal standard. I mean, their universal standard is there is no such thing as right or wrong, and they will judge you by that standard. I mean, they will land on you like a falling safe. So obviously that's a universal principle for them, a universal moral standard, and they don't even seem to see the inconsistency and the hypocrisy there.
Yeah, it's completely incongruous. The only thing immoral is to reckon that there is anything immoral. The only objective truth is that there is no such thing as objective truth, which in and of itself, they're stating what they believe to be an objective truth. So they are, right out of the starting block here, they've tripped and fallen on their face. The race to the finish line in the world of progressive non-reality is impossible. They'll never get there because they're stuck in the muck. They're down on their face right out of the starting block. And when you bring it up, as you've done here, Brian, to a 30,000-foot level, that's ultimately what we're talking about here. This attack against you is part of the bigger picture. And ultimately, it's a clash between worldviews. It's a clash between truth and a lie. It's a clash between right and wrong. And what these individuals are doing, they are living a life in rebellion against truth. Truth isn't a thing. Truth is a person, the person of Jesus Christ. He is the way, the truth, and the life. So they are rebelling against Jesus. So, Brian, congratulations to you. He says that they're going to hate you because they hated him. They're going to go after the servant. If they're going to kill the master, of course they're going to go after the servant. And, good, well done, good and faithful servant. You are serving the Lord proudly. And this attack against you, just remember this, Brian. All it reminds you is that you have the bead directly over the bullseye. The more viciously they attack and the more they insult you by accusing you of being a closet homosexual and so forth, that just means you are being that much more effective. And I appreciate you having me on today because I wanted to share that with your listening audience here that, I'm proud of you and I know our Lord is proud of you as well.
Well, thank you, Matt. That's very kind of you. And just about 60 seconds left. One last question. It seems to me that as Christians, we need to understand that if we stand for the truth, this kind of assault is going to come against us. I don't care who you are, how visible you are, where you do it. Take a stand for the truth. You're going to get blitzed like this. And it seems to me the key, Matt, for those of us who believe in these standards, believe in the truth, believe in the gospel, we just need to keep standing for the truth, speaking the truth, refusing to capitulate, refusing to back down, refusing to give ground, just continue to speak the truth because, as Solzhenitsyn said, one word of truth outweighs the whole world, and if we continue to speak the truth, in the end, we will prevail.
Amen, brother. If you stand for truth, the persecution will come, but then God's blessings will flow.
Thank you very much, Matt. Our guest has been Matt Barber, Associate Dean at the Liberty University School of Law, Assistant Professor of Law there. Great friend of mine, great friend of this program. Liberty Counsel, one of our allies in the culture war. Matt, thank you very much for taking time to be with us, and God bless you, my friend.
Thanks, Brian. God bless, brother.
Matt Barber, Liberty Counsel, one of the real good friends of AFA. We're in the culture war with them, and Matt actually wanted to come on the program to kind of have my back on this scurrilous attack from the left, and I can't tell you, Matt, how much I appreciate you doing that. Thank you, my friend. We'll be right back with more Focal Point AFR Talk. Don't go anywhere.